Okay, before we begin, I'd like to read the prayers for happy rebirth. All those killed by natural and man-made disasters. All the Tibetans have been killed or taken their own lives in the struggle for religious freedom. Robin Bongiorno, Sally Comer, James Foley, Max Halperin, Anthony Masha, Larry Middleton, Shyamali Mitra, Miss Kitty the cat, Scooter the dog, Roseanne, Job Search, Roseanne Barona, John Carroll, Lee Clark, Joey Gooch, Joe Griffiths, Jim Kay, Michelle Matich, Robert Palermo, Mark Pristop, Alex Schwartz, Greg Weaver, Sandy Wimbush. Prayers for health and well-being. Kyabje Lama Zompa Rinpoche, Venerable Margaret McAndrew, Venerable Churki Lamo, Venerable Losang Tsering. All those harmed by natural and man-made disasters, for the Tibetan people and for the Chinese authorities, may the nonviolent path lead to full reconciliation and religious freedom. Roger and Barb Alexander, Russell Allen, Ahmed Alcacer. Mrs. Askew, Lisa Baranski, Jim Barnes, Luce Barona, Narcissus Barona Sr., Roseanne Barona, Kitty Burke, John Carroll, Julie Castello, Jack Deliso, Diana Dietzler, Chuisano and her children, Dimitri Diamandopoulos, Suzanne Diamandopoulos, Mildred Gooch, Robert Gruber, Tracy Haas Thompson, Annie Hassel, Kathy Hayashi, Francis Hayashi, Lizzie and Joan Inman, Kenny Jackson, Buddy, Helen Kasnoff, Nina Kowalski, Karina Dillig and family, Mary Lojek, Danny Love, Tom Lynch, R.M., Tom McGinnity, Sarah Miller, Colleen Mitchell, Jose Moreno, Ribera Nielsen, Lindsay Piatti, Reba Gill Saunders, family of Shyamali Mitra, Evan Myrtle and family, William Oliver, Dave Pandya, Anna Paparda, and many cousins throughout the Ukraine, Mark Christop, Ken Roman, Eileen Rubin and family, Ariana Scott, Rosemary Cease, Sarai, Basil Shute, Lori and Freddie Todd, Lobsang Tupton, Bob Utzman, Fran Van Kirk, Dion Washington, Jessica Whitmore, Shay Wokowicki, Bodie the cat, Carmen the dog, Dorji and Kadro the pigs, Mikey the dog. I think I'm missing a turtle. I forgot the turtle's name. Let's see. But there's the turtle that needs prayers too.
There we go. So good morning. Lovely to see you here this morning. If you didn't get the announcement, today is a little bit special. We are in just a minute going to invite Geshe Palden Songpo into the Gamba. You may know him because he's been at Kadampa Center for a long time. He helps Geshe Gelik tremendously. He has taught some classes on and off. But if you're familiar with us, you know we are part of a larger organization called the FPMT. And the FPMT stands for the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. It's a real mouthful. And he has been officially approved as a resident teacher at Kadampa Center. So it's a big deal that he is now officially going to begin teaching courses here at Kadampa Center and has that recognition from FPMT. And we want to provide him with a very warm welcome. And so what we're going to be doing today, and Tim, would you mind making sure that the katas come out in case anybody wants to borrow one? Thank you. We're going to present what's called a long mandala offering. And the mandala offering represents basically the Buddhist cosmology of the universe. And so it has all these things like mountains and continents and horses and elephants and everything precious. And while we're doing the offering, you can just imagine bountiful offerings, shopping malls, the grocery stores, anything that is beautiful and special, gold, TVs, computers, whatever, and offering that up to the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and the use of all sentient beings for their benefit. And why we're doing that is both because it helps create the conditions to receive the teachings, as well as on our side to create merit. And we'll talk a little bit more about merit and why that's important, but it helps in our Buddhist practice. And then after we do our presentation with Geshe Sangpo, I'll be talking a little bit about our education programs here at Kadampa Center, how they work, and then I'll be asking you to get into groups and discuss about what you'd like to see happen as I work on the 2015 planning and getting your feedback about what you'd like to request that Kadampa Center do. So that's our layout for today. So when Geshe Sangpo comes in, if everyone would please stand, and then we'll do 3 prostrations and we'll begin the mandala offering. You can go ahead and sit back down when we start the mandala offering. Are there any questions? Okay, great.
Okay, so we'll do the long mandal offering, and it's in this gold book on page 96. And if you want to follow in English, it's on page 105 through 6. Chinkamuagi wo Om Benzabumi Ahum Wanchan Segi Saji Om Benzareke Ahum Chi Chagi Koyugi Korwelsu Riga Porira Shalupapo Lo Zambuling Nu Balangche Jan Jamingan Luda Lupang Ya Dam Ya Jem Yo Dan Dam Lo Tro Do Dam Nin Yan Dan Dam Nin Yan Gida Rinpoche Riro Pa Sam Kishim De Joiba Mamer Piloto Kolo Rinpoche Nobu Rinpoche Tsomo Rinpoche Lempo Rinpoche Langpo Rinpoche, Takcho Rinpoche, Magpo Rinpoche, Techempo Ibumpa, Gema Tewama Luma Garma, Metoma Duperma, Nanselma Dichama, Nima Dawa, Rinpoche Du Chole Nampa Gewe Gyatse, Usulag Dami, Perser Pusun Sopa Matsawa Me Patsang Shi Yudun Wawa Jin Chan Jin Sendawat, Kirpa Chepe Pandala Madampana, Kepa Du Yang Dom Tom Dempe Nadan Gilpa Du Tenermer, Tejun Jet Salamo Langsu, Ojai Chan La, Kap, Nang Wang. Pa chen po sung cho jam e pa shu we yen du jun kamu wa gi wo tu she de we dun du je su so je ne kyan da so de wa ma je na get da dam nan pe sen ten chan te le de pe shin gi ho de love to so Saji perki shushin meto tamre rabre shi nite gyempade Gyang Kerindu Mite Uwa Idro Kunamdak Shila Pasho Jetsun Lama Dampa Kyenam Kicher Kukala Kyense Chujinchi Jitar Tsampe Duje Zima Lajab Gercherki Charpawab to serve Idam Guru Ratamandala Kamnerya Tayami.
Hello. Good morning. I think most of you know me, right? Okay. The few years ago, my teacher, Sarah Gikerumbuche Gishinuzu Dele, and Gishigele asked me, you must teach at the Kadumba Center. But I didn't say yes or no, neither. Then this year, when Lama Zebarumuche was here, also Geshila told me, you have to teach at the Kadumba Center. I will ask Rinpoche face to face. But I didn't say nothing. Geshila. Then finally he asked Rinpoche. Then the Rinpoche very kindly, more happy to accept to teach at the Kadumba Center. Therefore, I'm here today. Then actually, why I'm in Raleigh because Geshe-la. When I was 11, the Geshe-la take care my brother and me. Therefore, Geshe-la is very important for me more than everything, really. Geshe-gele, I mean Geshe-gele. Then I think a long time ago, like we are some old member like Stephanie, Julie, they really wants to somebody with company Geshe-la. Therefore, they asked me. Then I thought the first time I sent one of my student here to take care of Geshe-la. Then finally, I thought it's not easy to young monks come to here, grow up this environment. They have so many obstacles for being monk. Therefore, I thought like, now I already become a Geshe. Therefore, I came to here help Geshe-la is much better than my students because they need studying, yeah, something like that. Therefore, I decided to come to here. Finally, therefore, Geshe-la talked here almost 15 years, right? 15 years. Then Kadamba Center is like our family. Therefore, I love Kadamba Center really very much. Then I have been monk almost 30 years. Then doing that time what I want, what I learn, then I want to share with you guys. Maybe start next year. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Geshe Sangpo, we are extremely grateful that you are here for the years of service that you have offered both to Kadampa Center and to Geshe Gelik. We recognize your excellent qualities, that you have, that you were one of the youngest people ever to receive a Geshe degree, that you are an incredible expert in the Tantra rituals, especially Yamantaka. So we are so humbled that you are here with us in Raleigh and that you will be teaching us. And we are just overjoyed. So thank you, Geshe-la. So if anyone would like to come up and offer a kata, we have some extra ones in the back if you didn't get the email to bring one, but please come on up. Okay, so the next part, I just wanted to have some time to maybe address some of the common questions that I'm asked about how do the spiritual programs work here at Kadampa Center, some changes that have happened recently, and then use that as a basis for getting your feedback about what we can do in the future to better serve you. The first new thing is you'll see that there are these lovely gold prayer books now instead of the white prayer books that we've had in the past. And these, one of the major questions that came up over and over again was, how do I get these prayers? How, I want to use this in my daily practice. They were all from this book. And so by switching to this book, I think it makes it easier for people to transition into using it at home. It's available in our bookstore, and it's also available at the FPMT Foundation Store shop. There are some handouts on a tray. If you didn't get one and would like one, I'm going to refer to them a little bit. And so it has a list of the links of where you can find some of the resources that I'm going to talk today. So it was something that will be very useful for you to take home. Please go ahead and get one if you want to stand up now and get one. That's totally fine. We're very informal this morning. And I in particular wanted to thank Dan Brooks, who runs our bookstore. Well, he doesn't run our bookstore, but he does all the book ordering, because he was part of the effort to get these new gold prayer books by putting out the old edition that we had, that we used just for rituals. And by selling the used copies, we were able to get money to help buy the new edition, so we don't all have different page numbers we have to turn to. Jim and Jackie Scott, who spent a lot of time putting in you'll find there are little labels in here of prayers that we do specifically here at Kadampa Center that weren't in the original. So they put all these stickers in the books to make them easy to use as well. And Royden Saw, who is on our board, he wrote what's called a Merit Box grant. And the Merit Box grant is a program through FPMT. You're very welcome to participate in it. You may have been here a couple weeks ago when our greeters were handing them out. We have more free ones if you'd like one. It's a little tin that you keep at home, and you can put your change in it. And then we collect it on a holy day, which is an especially auspicious day to make donations. We send it off to the Merit Box grants, and the Merit Box grants are then dispersed to FPMT centers to help them with projects such as getting new prayer books for our Gampa. So we have benefited from it in a couple of ways, and we're also benefiting other centers. So it's a really wonderful program to be a part of. Another new resource in spiritual programs, and I just realized it's rather rude, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Sarah Brooks, and I'm the spiritual program coordinator here, so I help plan all the programs. So if you ever have any questions or need assistance, please feel free to contact me. There is a little sheet out in the lobby that has all the email addresses of people in volunteer roles here and the staff if you need to contact us. So there's this booklet called The Daily Meditation, and that's one of the links on your resources sheet that you picked up. The Daily Meditation booklet is just new from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who is our spiritual director of FPMT. And a lot of people ask, how do I structure a daily practice? And this is Rinpoche's advice, what to do every morning. And it's got a lot of mantras in it. It's got a lovely meditation on the graduated path, so the path to enlightenment. So there are many options how you can structure daily practice, but this is a new tool that Rinpoche has put out that you're welcome to use if you find it helpful. Some other prayers that I thought might be particularly beneficial for our community to know about. There's an advice on circumambulation. So we have this gorgeous stupa out on the side here, and Geshe Gelik has talked many times about how beneficial it is to walk around the stupa. You would walk clockwise, and typically you can do it as many times as you want. You can just do it once. It's very traditional to do it 3 times. It's an auspicious number, or just, you know, for however long that you have. And that's certainly enough of a practice as it is, but some people want to go even deeper into the practice. And this advice on circumambulation gives you, again, things you can think about as you're walking around, mantras you can say. So that's available for you. Advice regarding spiritual teachers is a publication that FPMT and Lama Zopa Rinpoche have recommended always be available to our students. It helps to clarify the relationship between a student and a spiritual teacher, which can get very confusing for Westerners. It's not part of our culture. It's very new to us, and it can get very complicated if you enter it without having some knowledge of how to approach a teacher. So that's available for you. How to buy a Buddhist statue. This was actually written by Geshe Gelik. And this is advice because it's very easy in our, you know, pop culture to find Buddha statues at Marshall's and TJ Maxx. And so what type of statue should you look for an altar? Once you get it, what should you do? If you have a traditional Tibetan statue like the ones that you see on our altar, they are filled with mantras and go through a special blessing ceremony. And we're in the process of rolling mantras for the next ceremony that we're going to do here at the center. So he gives very clear advice about what to look for if you want to get statues for an altar. This is called the Inner Job Description. And this was written by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And there are copies of this available on the table if you'd like to take one with you to try. It's a wonderful tool that you can use on a daily basis to help check your mindfulness of your practice when you're interacting with people. So it's something you can keep on your desk at work, and at lunchtime go through it and think about it and how well am I doing. When you get home and you're tired and you haven't eaten dinner yet and you're trying to interact with your family, you can go through your card and see how you're doing. If you're like me and not a morning person, you can go through your card and be reminded of how you should set your motivation in the morning. And they're developing it as an app, since most of us are getting away from old paper tools and getting into digital versions. So hopefully that will be available soon. As part of some training I did, I had to do this for 6 months, and I had to do it every day for 6 full months. And it really does change how you think every day. And by doing the practice on that regular daily basis, when you start to get into your typical mindset of, I'm getting frustrated, I don't want to listen to this anymore, all of a sudden you get back to, there's a section on here on mindful listening, and that comes to mind, and it shifts you a little bit. So I highly recommend trying it because it does make a difference. My colleagues who also went through the training and did this all had a profound experience using it. It was funny because I'm kind of the rebel in the group. So when my 6 months was up, I quit. And they were very disappointed in me for that. But then when I went and talked to my supervisor about it, I discovered that they actually encourage you then to customize it for your own use. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to then take this. A lot of these are very big, like think about emptiness all day, and I'm not there. So I had to make much more approachable categories for myself to work on so that I could better apply that during the day. So it's also something that if you're working with it, but finding that you've got something in particular that you know you need to be working on, you can write your own inner job description and then use the same tool, but then personalize it for yourself, and that's completely acceptable. So now I'm back to doing it. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Sure. So what I found talking to my different colleagues was everybody used it a bit differently. So again, you'll find whatever works for you. The ideal is to try and use it throughout the day. So because it's to help you just keep checking in with your mind. I used it though mainly at night. So I do nightly purification practice. And so I would go through and I would think about what did I do well at today? What did I not do well at today? And there are columns for rejoicing, what I did great, and regret for what I made mistakes. And so for the regret column, then when I was doing my purification practice, I could think about, okay, made that mistake. I don't want to make that mistake again, and used it as part of that practice. Any other questions? Okay. There's also a booklet on altar setup and water bowl offerings, which is another practice that I find a lot of people are a little intimidated by. We have water bowls here at Kadampa Center that our members are the ones who fill them and offer them before classes. So we encourage everyone to be interacting with our altar and learning how to do water bowl practice and participating in that before classes and taking them down after classes. And so this is a tool that you can use to help learn more about that practice. And I can also arrange for a student here at Kadampa Center to mentor you if you want to come learn one-on-one with someone how to do it on our altar. And that's a good way to kind of get a taste for it before you start setting up your own altar. So another one of the big changes that I wanted to tell you about was that FPMT has now made almost all their booklets like this, the PDFs, free on a donation basis. So we used to have to pay like $1, $2, or $5 to help them with the costs of translating all these practices, but they're following kind of our model of offering for free. And just if you feel that you've got benefit to make a donation to them to help with the project. So that's what all those links are for. You can go online and download these. The only exception is this altar setup and water bowl offerings. Excuse me. When I went and I checked that yesterday, it's still $4. I've emailed Tom in the education office and said, Tom, why isn't this free? So I don't know if that'll change, but all the others are free for you to download. Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of these available in the store, but now that they're becoming free publications, that's probably going to phase out because why pay for them when you can get them for free? So. Yes, which is wonderful. Yes. But as I said, as they become free, we're not going to want to charge for them either. We're going to offer them for free. And in fact, I've set up a new wall cabinet or display that's going to have these pamphlets in it that people can just take for free, because we want to offer that to benefit people's practice. And yeah, so these will be available for you for free, and you can just make a donation to us if you'd like to support us. It doesn't go away. It becomes more about the practice of generosity when you're not forced to pay for it. And when you can just make an offering from your heart, that becomes even better. And that's why FPMT is moving to that model. And so our teachers, who do we invite to Kadampa Center? How do we decide that? So Kadampa Center was founded by Lama Thubten Yeshe, and you can find out more about Lama Thubten Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche at Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive, which is one of the links on your page. And we also have some free books from Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive available in the lobby. So they are the founders of our lineage, well, not of our lineage, of our centers of the FPMT. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche was a disciple of Lama Yeshe. And then when Lama Yeshe passed, Lama Zopa Rinpoche became spiritual director of the FPMT. We have FPMT registered teachers, and that's who we invite to Kadampa Center to teach. And in the Tibetan tradition, the lineage is considered very important. We are part of the Gelugpa lineage. There's 4 lineages in the Tibetan tradition. One is not better than the other. They're all equally important. However, they do have a pathway of teachers that go all the way back to the Buddha. And so that lineage, continuing that unbroken, is considered extremely important to help keep the purity of the teachings. So we just invite teachers from our Gelugpa lineage that have been checked out by FPMT and approved to teach in FPMT centers. So that's one of the very common questions. What, a really wonderful teacher like Pema Chodron or Thich Nhat Hanh might be in the area, and why aren't we inviting them to our center? Well, it's because they are fantastic teachers, but they're not part of our FPMT lineage, and so we don't specifically invite them here to our center to teach. Our students also become teachers. So if you've taken classes like Discovering Buddhism and the introduction classes like Meditation 101, Buddhism in a Nutshell, those are taught by, often taught by lay teachers who started at the center just like you. They took courses, they applied for their certificates, they were approved by FPMT. The leaders of the introductory classes don't even have to have that full certification. But Robbie, who is our director, and I evaluate students based on their experience, what courses they've taken, and whether or not they're exhibiting the qualities of a teacher, showing that they actually do practice what they preach to the best of our ability. We all make mistakes, but at least trying. And so we decide who are leading those classes. We invite them to teach. And so think about, as you're taking courses here at Kadampa Center, if that's maybe a path you want to pursue someday. And I'd be happy to talk to you more about kind of how do you get there. Because that's what we would really like to see, is to see that continuing of people growing into those roles as teachers. What we offer, so you'll see also on your handout, there's the FPMT treasure map. The basis of our education programs really come from FPMT. Not all of the things on the treasure map can be offered here at Kadampa Center, but I really like this if you can see it, because if you're like me, you have to hold it way out here to actually read this tiny writing. But there's also a very big poster of this now that's going to be out in the lobby so that you can read it more easily. But you'll see we do at the very top where it turns peach, there's Buddhism in a Nutshell and Meditation 101, which are the introductory courses that we offer. Discovering Buddhism is the 2-year course that we've just started again. And that's kind of the next step in terms of learning more in depth the entire path to enlightenment. Foundation of Buddhist Thought is a correspondence course, so that's why that's not offered here at Kadampa Center. Living in the Path is a brand new course that's being developed, and it's based on the retreats that we, Kadampa Center, host. It goes approximately every other year in Black Mountain. Lama Zopa Rinpoche comes. He's been teaching, he's supposedly teaching on Lama Atisha's lamp for the path, but he's really just been teaching on anything he thinks we need to know. But they're really foundational core teachings. And FPMT realized just how important this series of retreats is, and is developing them into this course. So it's really quite amazing that we're at the heart of that. So the next retreat is going to be September of 2016. So not next year, but the year after. So make sure you're saving up your pennies and saving that vacation time so you can take the 2 weeks and come out to Black Mountain and be part of that, because it's really quite amazing. The basic program we've also just recently started. So to be in that program, we do have a prerequisite that you have completed at least the coursework of Discovering Buddhism. There's also a practice module that's quite extensive, but we've kind of waived that part of it. But you need at least the 2-year teachings on the Lam Rim before you should try and tackle the basic program. And that's similar to just a college environment where you don't go into 201 course without having taken the 101 course. We found that the people who dropped in on the course when Venerable George was here, because he invited anybody who wanted to come, found it very confusing and quickly dropped out. So we don't want you to have a bad experience where you come and you just feel frustrated because you don't understand it. You just need that background teaching before you come. The master's program then is an even more intensive program. Since we're just now starting the basic program, we're not trying to tackle the master's program at the same time, but you can do that. It's commonly done as a residential program where you go and you actually live at a center for typically, I believe it's 3 years. And then you do a 1-year retreat. So it's quite intensive if you are really looking to go the next step. That would be it. And then out in Portland, where our international office is located, my Trippa College is located there as well. And it's actually an accredited college where you can take courses and get a degree. And so that's another avenue of study for many students. And then there's also the Losang Rinpoche Zangpo Translator Program. If anybody has it in their heart to want to learn Tibetan and actually translate for the Geshis who come to teach, that program is how FPMT helps provide for that need for our centers. We also have an amazing retreat center here on the East Coast called Milarepa Center. It's in Vermont. We often get asked, can we do more retreats? It's difficult because we don't have a residential center. We don't have places for people to stay, which makes a retreat more difficult. So we're really trying to partner more with Milarepa Center and encourage our students to consider going there to take advantage of what they have to offer. They're really here to serve the entire East Coast, so they want us to participate in their things as well. So just bring that to mind, and hopefully you'll see some collaborations with them soon. So before we start a brainstorming session, I guess I should talk a little bit more too about some of the practices that we do. So we have pujas throughout the month, which are basically just long prayers with lots of ritual involved. The ritual has meaning, so when you've studied a little bit and you understand what all the things that are happening mean, it becomes very profound. It's not just done because it's done. We do offer weekend retreats, sometimes here at the center, sometimes at a lovely farm. We have the children's program. We have lots of associated programs. So we do have, for instance, a program called Food for Thought. That's a Kadampa Center program. It's not an FPMT one, where once a month a group meets and talks about and looking at those habits and how we relate to food. And are there tools in meditation that can be used to help perhaps benefit while you're eating? And sometimes the Geshe Gelik, or hopefully soon Geshe Sangpo, will teach on a specific Buddhist text. So sometimes students request a text that's outside of these programs, and we'll have a special class specifically on that. So as we head into the brainstorming session, very open to ideas. Now we may get 100 different ideas, which means we're not going to be able to implement them all next year. But the idea is if from the groups we're getting very similar feedback, then I'm going to know what to put our priorities on. What's most needed and wanted by our community. And so it can really be anything. Some of the centers have programs on dealing with divorce. They have groups that meet for addiction issues. So really a lot of things can be developed even outside these education programs. So I'd like to break you up into groups, small groups of about no more than 5 people each. Within your group, I'd like one person to volunteer to be the group moderator to help make sure that everyone in your group gets a chance to talk. I'm one of those people who needs time to think. So the group usually gets started with people who like to think out loud, and they're, coming up with all kinds of ideas. And then by the time it's my turn to talk, the time's over and I didn't get to say my idea. So the moderator can help people like me to have a chance to talk, maybe think first and then talk. And then I'd like another person in the group to record the ideas. I've got pads of paper and pens. I'd like you to write down the ideas that the group comes up with. If we have time, we'll maybe get some reporting back from your group, but then I'm going to collect all those sheets. And that's what I'm going to use to look at to try and supplement what we're going to be doing next year. Yes?
Unfortunately, if I had known this, I would have been able to plan more time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't very studious. So I wanted to make a suggestion before I take off.
Okay.
Stay for the brainstorm.
Sure.
First question would be, are there going to be brainstorm sessions next weekend or the following weekend or any other time? Or are these the only ones that you're doing?
So this is the only brainstorming session we're going to do as a group, but at any time, anyone can talk to me about what you'd like to see happen here at Campus Center. So I get emails from students saying, I'd like a course on this. And I will try and make that happen if it's appropriate. So that feedback can be given at any time.
Now my question would be,
Mhm.
I've been away for some time, as you
Mhm.
know. Have you had
Sure, great. Yep.
Wait.
This will help everyone here.
Hey, bud, how are you? Good to see you. So, hello? Okay. I don't know how to use
You're on, Richard.
Right. So have you had, since I've been gone,
Mhm.
any other teachers from any of these lineages? I recall that the last time I was here, I remember someone said, well, this is the Gelugpa lineage,
Mhm.
and there are a couple others, and I had to go Google it to find what the other names were.
Mhm.
Since then, and all that time, I've had the opportunity to sit and learn Dzogchen
Mhm.
with one of the lineage masters, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche,
Mhm.
and would love to see some of the other. I would probably come more often. I'd probably come more often than once a year if there are other lineages, other teachers here.
Mhm.
So that's my suggestion: is the Tibetan Burn tradition lineage. I think is most amazing. Not to demean in any way, shape, or form any of the other lineages, especially Gelugpa.
Mhm.
So my question is: are there going to be other lineages, other teachers here next year?
So that's what I was mentioning at the beginning about because we're an FPMT teacher, that's why we follow just the Gelugpa lineage, and that the teachers that we invite are just FPMT teachers.
Just
Just Gelugpa. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's part of the mission of FPMT. And because we're an FPMT center, we follow that mission. Yeah.
Hi, Sarah. Do you
Yes.
ever invite teachers from our tradition, from the Gelugpa tradition, but are not tied into the FPMT?
So prior to his being approved as an FPMT touring teacher, Geshe Gelik's teacher from Sarah J Monastery, Ken Rinpoche Lobsang Gelik, I have to think very hard to remember all the Tibetan names. He was not an official FPMT teacher, but we of course wanted to invite him, and he's Gelugpa tradition, he's head of Sarah J Monastery, we have a very close tie to him. So we just asked FPMT, can we invite him? And they said, of course. So we can request special permission to invite other Gelugpa teachers here, but we do need to still go to FPMT and just check in with them and make sure. Yep.
So I feel weird getting a microphone for this because it's basically a private aside, but I don't feel I've been here long enough to really put in any input, and I really need more or less to speak to you about some questions I had about taking refuge.
Sure.
So I would prefer more or less to just have a quiet moment with maybe you. Or
Sure.
Jessica.
Yeah. So I'll be available during the break between the sessions. There's about a half an hour, and I'd be happy to speak with you then.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Great. So if you wouldn't mind just turning to people close to you and dividing up into groups of about 4 or 5, I'm going to come around with the pads of papers and pens, and I'm going to give you about 15 minutes to talk with each other, brainstorm ideas together. You'll find that talking to each other, you'll come up with some things that you didn't expect. So thank you very much. So we're going to wrap up so that we don't run over too far. We won't run over at all, hopefully. So before I collect the materials from the groups, there's one more thing that I'd like you to consider. So Kadampa Center has an extremely small paid staff. I'm paid for 20 hours a week, and I often donate hours beyond that, so I'm a volunteer as well. We're primarily volunteer run. All our lay teachers volunteer to teach the classes. Two of our nuns just come and help with pujas. They're not paid by the center. One of our nuns is paid for 20 hours a week, and she typically works 40 hours a week supporting the center. And it's simply because we don't have the funds really to support the staff that we need. We would love to have lots more full-time staff. The Geshis are well supported. And even our director is a volunteer. He doesn't get any salary from the center. So it takes a tremendous amount of work in the background to make programs run. And it takes a whole team of people for every program to actually happen. So for us to implement new ideas, we also need new helpers. And that can take part on a number of levels. So there's entry-level positions all the way up to people to help lead the classes. Just to give you an idea of some of the areas in spiritual programs that really need help right now, we need silent meditation assistants. We need assistance for the introductory courses. We need an animal liberation coordinator. We need, there's a relic tour coming next month. We're going to need a lot of volunteers to make that happen. People to fill the water bowls, people to clean the altar, people to do puja shopping and setup, drivers for the Geshis, and providing Sangha support. So these are all areas that are already here that need needs. Plus, if we're going to do anything new, we're going to need people helping. So if you would be interested in becoming a volunteer or adding on to something that maybe you're already doing, please jot down on the sheets your name, your email, and how you'd be interested in helping. And that will help make these ideas a reality. Would either of the groups like to share maybe their top idea before we wrap up?
What we talked the most about was having more opportunities for meditation in groups at the center.
We had an idea similar to that of just more informal meetings, like not so much classes, but sort of just meetings, sort of social meetings where people could come together and help each other, maybe have a Sangha member present, but more or less just informal gatherings where people could support each other and discuss where they are and what they're doing. Sort of like study groups or just gatherings, social nights, that sort of thing.
All right, great. Great, yeah, and so when these ideas are in common, then that helps us identify, what we should focus on. So that's great, thank you. So at the end, you can just leave the pads of paper and pens on the table as you go out. But before we go, let's do a dedication so that we don't waste the merit that we've spent making offerings to our new resident teacher, as well as thinking about the Dharma in our community and how we can benefit them. So let's go to the Gold Prayer Book. And let's go to page 246. And we'll do Master Shantideva's dedication and make us think big like a bodhisattva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you so much for your participation today. I really am grateful for the feedback you're providing. If at any time you want to email me, I'm the one who's sending out all the spiritual program announcements on the official online list. So you can reply to those. The email address is program@kadampa-center.org. So people often get it wrong. They have programs with an S on the end, and so it bounces back. So it's just program@Kadampa Center, or reply to those emails. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Good morning. Welcome to the Kadamba Center. In a few moments, Sarah will be coming in to explain what the events for this morning, and then Geshe Sangpo will be coming in as for part of the ritual for becoming the second resident teacher of the Kadampa Center. And we'll be chanting the long mandala offering, which is on page 96. So we're no longer using the prayer books. It's everything's in the gold book, and it'll be in Tibetan. And then all the way to the middle of page 98. And if you want to follow in English, the English version is on page 105 and 106. Let's see. Let me see if that other part is in there. Yes, and then after you finish on 106, you have to flip back to page 97 to for the short mandala offering. And then on the reverse page, you'll see the request to turn the wheel of Dharma. So we'll be doing all of that in a moment. And then afterwards, you'll be welcoming, you can offer a kata to Geshe Sangpo.
So good morning. Welcome to Kadampa Center. Hello, everybody. So today we've got a very special ceremony happening. We are going to be welcoming Geshe Palden Songpo as a new officially approved FPMT resident teacher here at Kadampa Center. And it's very exciting. Geshe Songpo has been with our community for quite a long time. He's taught some classes on and off at Kadampa Center. He has served Geshe Gelik as an attendant for many years, and it's a really big step for him to now become an official teacher here at Kadampa Center. So we're going to celebrate that today by doing a long mandala offering. So what that is visualizing, offering the Buddhist cosmology of a universe. And so in the English translation, it talks about continents and mountains and horses and elephants and all these wonderful things. So it's very easy to do the practice by just imagining all the beautiful things you can think of: shopping malls, the grocery store, your computers, your cars, whatever it is that is beautiful and wonderful, offering all of that up to the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and all sentient beings for their benefit. So if you're having trouble going along with the chanting, just be thinking about that. And you'll see us offering a tray representing certain offerings, the mandala, the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So that's the little ceremony you'll see happening here. And then after the mandala offering, there will be a couple short speeches, and you'll be invited to come up and offer a kata and offering if you'd like. And there are extra katas available in a basket there if you didn't get the announcement that that's what we're doing today. Then if you go back to your seats, the kids will leave for their program after they offer the katas. And then the rest of us will be talking about the education programs here at Kadampa Center. I'll be answering some frequently asked questions, as well as informing you about some new exciting changes. And then we're going to have discussion groups so that there's an opportunity to get your feedback about what are we going to plan in 2015? What is it that's most needed by our community? So we want your feedback today, and that's how we'll end our program. Are there any questions before I invite Geshe Songpo in? Okay, great. And Lama La, what page was it in the Gold Prayer Book? 96 in the Gold Prayer Book.
Shinkamuagi wo Om Benza Bumi Ahum Wanchan Segi Saji Om Benza Reke Ahum Chichagri Koyugi Korwe Usu Riga Porirab Shalupapo lo zambuling nu balang chu jan jaminyan ludan lupam ya shem yodan dam lo chojo jaminyan dan jaminyan kidap rinpoche riro pa samgishin de joy bab Mamar Pilotok, Kolo Rinpoche, Nolbu Rinpoche, Sumo Rinpoche, Lumpo Rinpoche, Langpo Rinpoche, Takcho Rinpoche, Magpo Rinpoche, Terchompo Ibumpa. Gemma, Tewama, Luma, Garma, Metoma, Duperma, Nanselma, Richama, Nima, Dawa, Rinpoche, Du, Chole, Nampa, Gelvegatsem, Usulagdami, Persho, Pusun, Sopa, Matsangwa, Mepa, Sangshi, Dung, Wa, Dida, Jinsen, Sawa, Kirpara chepe pandang lama dam panam dam. Kirpa duya yotso tempe na dagdang gile tutsen nermer te jetsun lama lo sang tuan do jetsa. Geshe paldang sangpo peo jang per zel na te pa chempo sung chuja mo leg pa juwe yun du jin kamu wa gi wo. Du she do wedun du je su so. Je ne kanda so de wama jenan keta dam nam pesen tentan tela tu te watchen burger ni jingi lab tu so. Saji perki Ushing metok tamre rablin ni degen pade sangye du mikte uwa yidro kunam dam jinla parsho jetsu lama Tampa kenam kicher kukala kense chujin tri chita tsampe Duje zima laja geturki charpa wabtu so idam guru rata mandalakam niryatayami.
Geshe-la, would you like to say anything?
Good morning, everyone. The few years ago, my teacher, Saraji Kermuchi Dele, most of you know it. He and Geshe Gele told me many times, you must teach at the Kadumba Center. Yeah. But I didn't say yes or no neither. Then this year, when Lama Zebar was here, and Geshe Gele asked me, Geshe Gele told me, you have to teach at the Kadumba Center. Then he will going to ask Rinpoche face to face. Then Geshe-la did, and Rinpoche very kindly, more than happy to accept I'm teach here. Yeah, yeah. Therefore, I'm here. Then actually, why I'm in Raleigh? Because Geshe-la. When I was 11 years old, Geshe-la take care of my brother and me. Therefore, Geshe Gele is more than important for me, everything. He's very important for me. Therefore, I think a long time ago, the Stephanie and Julie, some old member thought like Geshe-la needs some company. Therefore, they asked me. I thought first time I send one of my students to here take care of the Geshe-la. Then finally I thought like they have to studying. I'm already done for Geshe. Therefore, also especially young monks come this country. It's not easy to stay here. So many like obstacle because environment. Therefore, I decided to come to myself, take care of Geshe-la. Yeah. Therefore, the Geshe-la talked to here almost 15 years. Therefore, Kadamba Central is my family. Yeah, I love Kadamba Central member and Kadamba Central. Then, of course, I love Geshe-la. Therefore, I want to help Geshe-la and the center. Then I have been monk almost 30 years, 30. Then I want to share what I want learn. Then that's it. Even though they call me like resident teacher, but we are Dhamma friend. Then thank you very much, support for Geshe-la and Sandra. Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you.
Just as an aside, Geshe-la, I think we can also celebrate that your brother received his Geshe-la Rumpa degree recently, right? Okay, so that's something else to celebrate. Geshe-la, I just want to say your presence at Kadampa Center over the past years, your joyful personality and your smile and friendliness have been a great joy for everyone who comes to Kadampa Center. And it's a wonderful honor to have you now as a teacher. And we look forward to continuing this relationship. And we thank you from the depths of our heart for everything you've done for Kadampa Center.
Okay, with a little shuffling, we transition into the next section. So my name is Sarah Brooks, and I'm the spiritual program coordinator here at Kadampa Center. So I plan the various teachings and programs that happen here. And so I'm just going to answer some frequently asked questions and tell you about some new changes that have happened that I hope you'll be happy about. And then, as I mentioned, we'll be breaking into discussion groups so I can get your feedback about how best to serve our community. The first thing you might notice if you've been coming here is that we have new gold prayer books that are out. It's a very exciting development. These are the official FPMT prayer books. The old white books that we had, the prayers came from here. And so there was a lot of confusion about how do I get these prayers and how do I start a daily practice. So now that you can get familiar with these actual books, it'll help, I hope, everyone transition to using them at home. They are available here in our bookstore as well as through the FPMT shop. Now, there's a table on your way in that has some handouts. On the handout, one of them has a little colorful chart, and on the back it has links. And if you didn't get one, you're welcome to go get one now. I don't mind at all if you want to go check the table. And there's also a job description card that I'll be talking about, so please help yourself to those. So the link to the FPMT shop is on there in case you want to check that out. I'd like to thank very much Dan Brooks, who does our book ordering, because he helped arrange selling our old versions of the Gold Prayer Book through the bookstore to help raise the money to buy some new ones so that we have all the same edition, so that we don't have to tell you to turn to 2 different pages, as well as Jim and Jackie Scott, who spend a tremendous amount of time putting in special labels throughout the book for all the prayers that we do here at Kadampa Center that aren't official FPMT prayers. And then also Royd and Saw, who wrote a Merit Box grant that helped us buy the rest of the gold books. The Merit Box is a project through our home office at FPMT. FPMT stands for the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. It's a mouthful, so we just call it FPMT. And we're part of this bigger international organization. And you might have been here a couple weeks ago when our greeters passed out the Merit Boxes, which are free boxes that you can take home. They're little tins like a piggy bank, and you can drop your loose change in there. And then on one of the holy days, we collect those, and that helps create more merit when you make a donation on a holy day. And we send that back to the Merit Box, and that then gets distributed as grants to various centers around the world, and we've benefited from it twice. So it ends up coming back and helping us as well. So it's a wonderful way to be part of that whole. There's a new daily meditation booklet that looks like this, and that's one of the links on your handout. One of the additional new exciting developments is that FPMT in the past has had to charge for the PDFs of booklets of prayers and practices because it costs them a tremendous amount of money to research and translate all of these. However, they're moving to a model similar to ours where it's all offered freely on a donation basis. So you can now download these things for free. If you'd like to make a donation to FPMT to support the organization, that's encouraged as well, but it makes it much more accessible perhaps for some people. The daily meditation booklet is written by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. A lot of people kind of struggle with starting, how do I start my morning? This is his sort of advice, how to structure your beginning of your day. There are lots of options. You don't have to use this to do your daily practice, but it's a tool that he has offered that he encourages his students to consider. It has a wonderful meditation on the path to enlightenment, and then a number of mantras to help your mind. So that's one of the new resources. There are a number of other publications I thought would be very worthwhile to mention to you because they are, again, some of the very common questions that come up about how do I do this. One of them is, I thought this was particularly good for our community. This is Lama Zopa Rinpoche's advice on circumambulation. So we have this beautiful stupa outside, and it's Geshe Gelik talks on and on about how much merit you can collect by going around the stupa, and that can be just enough. Walk around it once, walk around it 3 times, just spend as much time as you have going around it. Any of that is just wonderful. Some students, though, have requested advice how to take that practice deeper. What else could I be thinking about? What can I generate in my mind as I go around the stupa? Are there prayers that I can say or mantras? So that's what this booklet is for. While I encourage you to download these at home, we also are going to keep a selection of these available in the lobby at all times too. So that's important to know, because as newcomers come and ask you, what do I do? You can point that to that free resource to help them. We have a booklet called Advice Relating to Spiritual Teachers, and this is also on your handout. This is a booklet that's recommended by FPMT that we always have available, because here in the West, it's not part of our culture to have spiritual teachers, and so it can be a very confusing process. Who is a spiritual teacher? Who's my Dharma friend? How do I relate to them? How do I get a teacher? And so this booklet is designed to help you start investigate that question. There's a booklet on altar setup and water bowl offerings. So we have this lovely altar of water bowls, and that is filled and emptied by our community. It's a community altar, so I encourage everyone to interact with the altar and use it as an opportunity to learn. I'm happy to set up mentoring sessions with students who are already doing that practice to teach you how to do it, and encourage you to volunteer to do it at the beginning of classes and to take it down at the end. And then this is a guide that you can turn to as you need a refresher, or if you, again, want to go deeper into the practice or set up an altar at home. Then if you are setting up an altar, we have a lovely booklet called How to Buy a Buddhist Statue, available on Kadampa Center's website. And this was written by Geshe Gelik. And you know, we're in a culture where you can go to Marshall's and TJ Maxx and find Buddha heads and all kinds of interesting Buddhist things. This booklet gives you a guide at what to actually look for and what's appropriate for an altar. If you're buying a traditional Tibetan statue, like the ones we have on our altar, they get filled and then blessed in a special ceremony. And we are in the process of rolling mantras so that we can have that ceremony again here at Kadampa Center, and people are encouraged to help with that as well. Then we have the inner job description card, and there were copies of this available on the table to really encourage everybody to take one and give it a try. The inner job description is really a tool that Lama Zopa Rinpoche wrote to help us keep mindfulness throughout the day. And it's got the 6 perfections and ways to interact with people at work. Maybe when you get home, you're tired, you haven't had dinner yet, your mindfulness might be slipping a little bit when you interact with your family. Or if you're like me and not a morning person and need a little extra reminder in the morning. There is a column for rejoicing. So if you're doing really well at something, rejoice in that. That's an important part of our practice. If there's something you've made a mistake, that's the regret column. And then if you do purification practice, there's a little section for keeping a note, like, I spoke harshly to my friend today, so that when you do your purification practice, you can remember what it was you made a mistake about that day. And then take that further as part of your practice in terms of developing a strong code of ethics, and then letting go of it and not feeling guilty about it anymore. I had to use this tool as part of training for 6 months, so I had to do this daily. And a bunch of my friends went through the training as well, and we were able to talk to each other afterwards and compare how we did it. Turns out each of us used it a little differently. So I personally used it at night right before my purification practice, and I used it to really just right there and then purify it all. But others of my colleagues found it more helpful to have it at lunchtime, for instance. They needed that midday checkpoint. So there's no set rule how to use it. But I did find that I was a little resistant to it. I'm a little bit of a rebel. I don't like to be told what to do. So I only did it because I had to, but I did find that it made a real difference, and that I could catch myself after a while of doing this, I could catch myself as it started to happen. You know what? You're not really listening to this person. And I would catch that and pay more attention. And it really does help you work on just some basic interacting with people issues. And then again, I was a bit of a disappointment because after my 6 months was up, I was like, phew, done. So I had to have a chat with my supervisor. And I learned that this job description is flexible so that you can actually then write it however is useful for you. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to put these into language and a level that was appropriate for my practice. So sometimes the categories were just too big. I couldn't think about emptiness of all phenomena. I needed to think very more specifically than that. So I wrote my own job description and have started practicing that. And you know, as time goes by, I still keep referring back to this because I based it on this, and I change those as I need to. So it just becomes a really flexible tool. They're also working on developing it into an app for those of us who are much more digital than paper oriented and don't want to have to keep copying this over and over again because there's so little space. So watch for that coming out hopefully soon from FPMT. Were there any questions about the practices that I've just talked about and how to get them? They are all listed on your sheet. It's on FPMT's website, and if you have any trouble finding it, just let me know. I've also got it as a digital file I'm happy to share with everyone. Yeah, you can laminate it and use a wipe away marker. That's a great idea. Great. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about what programs we offer here at Kadampa Center and why. Also on the handout was a lovely chart which is meant to be quite big. There will be a big copy of this hanging out in the lobby, so if you're like me and have to do this to read it, there will be another version you can refer to. And it outlines the FPMT education programs and what subjects they cover. Now, not all of these can be offered here at the center, so I'm just going to go down and give you a quick overview of the different programs. You'll see our introductory programs, Buddhism in a Nutshell and Meditation 101 are here. The Discovering Buddhism course, which is the 2-year course to start really delving into what is Buddhism, has just started again. We do it over and over again because as new people come, they want to start the program. So you can join in at the beginning of any module. Foundation of Buddhist Thought is a correspondence course. So that's why we don't offer that particular course here at Kadampa Center. It's only designed for correspondence. Living in the Path is a brand new program that's being developed, and it's very exciting because it's based on the retreats that Kadampa Center hosts. So approximately every other year, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who is our spiritual director, comes to North Carolina, and we host a big retreat out in Black Mountain, North Carolina, near Asheville. Our international family comes from all over the world. There's typically over 200 people who come. It's really foundational core teachings. It's supposedly on Lama Atisha's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment text, but Rinpoche has taken the opportunity to just teach on whatever he thinks we really need to know. And FPMT realized quite quickly that this really needed to be a core part of our continuing the lineage. So they've taken each retreat and are adapting it into this Living in the Path module. So that's really exciting. Our next one will be in September of 2016. So not next year, but the year after. Plenty of time to save your pennies and save your vacation time because you will want to be a part of that when that comes around. We have just started the 5-year basic program, which you need to have completed at least the coursework of Discovering Buddhism in order to attend. And the reason for that is because we don't want you to show up without a strong basis of knowledge and feel completely frustrated because the material is, unapproachable. We've seen that happen, and students drop out and don't feel very good about the program. So it's just like college, where you don't go into a 200 level class without having taken the 100 level class. So that's why we have some prerequisites for that course. The master's program is not offered here at Kadampa Center yet because it's the next level up and we just started the basic program. It's another intensive program. Many people go and do it as a residential program where you go and you live at like Institute Lama Tsongkhapa for 3 years and then you do a 1-year retreat. So there's definitely opportunities to go as deep as you want into the teachings. Maitripa College is mentioned here. It's located in Portland, Oregon with our international office. It is an actual accredited college where you can get a degree in Buddhism. So it's taught by Yangtze Rinpoche, who's an amazing Lama. So if you have any college students who are looking at their options and really interested in Buddhism, that's another direction to go. The Losang Rinchen Zangpo Translator Program is a way that FPMT is trying to help our communities with new Geshis who come from Sarah J Monastery and need a translator. So students who are interested in learning Tibetan and how to translate can go into that program and then serve the FPM community that way. And so that's really the heart of the programming that we do. But then we do a lot of additional programming on top of that. So we have regular pujas, which are basically long prayer rituals. They can feel a bit confusing at first since it has a lot of ritual symbolism. But once you start to do it and learn about it, then you realize that the rituals aren't just done because they're done, but that they all have a lot of symbolic meaning. And that's used as part of the practice to help develop your mind. We have supplemental programs where students might request teachings on particular Buddhist texts that aren't within these programs, and so Geshe-la will do a specific course on a Buddhist text. For instance, a student might request Shantideva's Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and even though it's part of these courses, if it's not going to come up anytime soon, we might do a special course just on that. We have things like animal liberations. We have a food for thought class that meets once a month where students come together and have a chance to look at mindfulness of eating and habits and how to pay attention when you're eating and what those habits might be, and do you want to change them, and how all those things are coming up. So it can also be a very broad category of dealing with anger or going through divorce, a divorce group. There are centers that host addiction groups. So depending on what our community needs, we can develop things outside of the specific FPMT programs to serve you. And so who teaches these courses? So FPMT was founded by Lama Thubten Yeshe, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche was Lama Yeshe's disciple, and when Lama Yeshe passed away, he became our spiritual director. You can find out a lot more about them at Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive, which is on your resource, and we also have the free Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive books in our lobby that you're welcome to pick up. And we are part of the Gelugpa tradition. There are 4 traditions in the Tibetan tradition. Four lineages in the Tibetan tradition, see if I can get that all out correctly. And the lineage is considered extremely important. So Geshe-la can tell you who his teacher was, and who his teacher was, and who his teacher was, all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha. That lineage is kept pure, they say, so that those teachings are passed on from teacher to teacher. And so that's considered very important. As part of FPMT, we do only invite teachers of the Gelugpa tradition. That's part of FPMT's mission. So that's a very common question I get. You know, some really amazing teachers come from other traditions. Ours is not any better than any of the others. However, we don't invite them to come because simply they're not within our tradition. So we certainly encourage you to attend those events and get the most from them. But that hopefully helps answer why we don't host them here. Are there, again, any general questions you'd like to ask about the things that I've talked about? Yeah. Oh, you have a mic, okay. My last group had lots of questions, so I think I've got the shy group now. All right, well, that's okay. That leaves a little bit more time to discuss. So the next thing that we're going to do, oh, I almost forgot to mention, we have a retreat center here on the East Coast called Milarepa Center. It's located in Vermont. So one of the challenges of being a city center is that we don't have a residential place where people can stay and do retreat. We don't have the kitchen facilities here. We do occasionally host weekend retreats at a farm, but that has its own challenges. We do daytime retreats here at the center, very occasionally a full retreat. So it's difficult just because of our conditions. Milarepa Center is here to serve the East Coast, and they really want us to know that they're there for us, and they want to plan programs to help the centers and the students studying to go and do longer retreat, actually at a center designed to support that. So I'm talking with the director there in hopes that we can maybe do some joint spiritual programming, possibly some Nungnes. So we'll hopefully have some exciting things coming up to try and encourage people to use Milarepa Center's facilities as well. So if there still aren't any questions, we will divide up into groups. I'm going to ask you to just turn to people nearby you, groups of no more than 5, because there won't be enough time if you get any bigger than that. My helpers will come around with some paper and pens. In each group, I'd like you to please have one person volunteer to be the moderator of the group, who will help keep the discussion on topic so that we can get as many ideas as possible, as well as making sure that each person in the group has an opportunity to speak, because we want to make sure that everyone has a voice and has a chance to say something. And then also one person in the group to write down the ideas that your group is coming up with, because then I'll be collecting all of those and using those to help plan what we're doing in the future. Now, of course, we might end up with 100 ideas today. So we can't possibly implement everything that you might come up with. So what you bring up may not actually happen, but what it will help with is if we start to see some commonalities between all the groups. So if all the groups are saying we need more silent meditation, then that's where we know we need to start and where we need to focus. So that input is really helpful to us to help serve. Yes, Robbie.
Maybe you could just share a little bit about how you come up with the topics for teachings, what is taught.
Sure. Sure. So when visiting teachers come, if I haven't had specific requests, then I look at what have we done over the recent years and what topics have we not covered recently, do we need to come back to? Or I'll look at what is that specific teacher most known for. So for instance, we had Venerable Rene come, and he is an amazing meditator. So it completely made sense to request him to teach on calm abiding meditation. That's really what he's best known for. So the ideal, though, is to have requests from the students. In this tradition, the teachers don't decide what they're going to teach. It's up to the students to ask. And in the past, it's even been you have to ask 3 times. You have to really show you want it before they'll agree to teach it. And that's why we have to find some way to get your input about what you want to learn, so that then I can go to the teachers and say, you know what, our community is really interested in dealing with anger. Could you please do some teachings on that? Thank you, Robbie. Any other questions before we divide up? Okay, so just divide up into your little groups of 4 or 5, and we'll come around with paper and pens for you. So a 5-minute warning. Moderators, please make sure that everybody gets a chance to participate. Okay, I'm going to ask everybody to finish their last thought. Finishing our last thoughts so that we can come back together for a moment. Hang on to your pens. You're not done yet. Stay in your groups. Hang on to your pens and paper. Well, yes, probably. Yeah. I'm very excited to see what you guys have written. And first thing I want to do is just ask if any of the groups would like to share something that seemed particularly passionate in their group. Is there anything you'd specifically like to highlight? We'll come around, and Scott's got his hand up. Could you? Yep. Jill's going to come so that everybody can hear. She'll give Scott a microphone.
Hello. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So I had the good fortune of being in a group with some students from NC State who were joining us. And we were talking about, programs that might appeal to college students. And they were saying that, like the basics, Buddhism in a nutshell, basic introductory type and informational classes were very appealing. But also we were talking about something that's very interesting would be, how to deal with stress and anxiety that they encounter, like especially around finals, exams, things like that. So even like if it was possible to set up some short on-campus meditation sessions where, have a place to go where people could come even for like 10 minutes and just do short meditations and then head back after their busy day. So that was an idea these guys came up with that I thought was maybe interesting.
Great, thank you for sharing. Up in the back, we had another hand up.
Is this working?
Yep, just hold it like an ice cream cone.
We came up with, happened to be a group of, except for one very experienced person, we're all new. It's very daunting to walk through the front doors, to not know what we can touch. What, it is.
Yeah,
you come in
and
people who've been coming here for years, they do it. I had to ask Richard for a lot of help this morning because I wanted to participate in the ceremony, and I couldn't do it when Venerable George was here because I was afraid I'd do something wrong and I didn't know. And there is we understand there's Buddhism in a nutshell, but even if there was something fast that we could look at, read, something for the newcomers, just to know, where do I put my shoes? What do I do? What's that big thing out front? I understand now it's a stupa, but but I didn't before. It was just this big, beautiful thing that I saw from the road that drew me to the center. And just really, really basic stuff that when I was new and walked through the door for the first time, I had no idea. So if there was something, and sort of what we came up with, if there was just a sheet. I went through the orientation with Sandy and Kim Lillig, and it was awesome. Walked through the kitchen, and I realized that there's a time for that. But I think sort of what we came up with, if there was a leaflet, a sheet, a handout, so we could at least feel like we belonged here as new people, that would be helpful, and if it were readily available.
Great. All right. Thank you for your feedback. We'll just have a couple more comments so that we don't run over too far.
I wanted to add to what he said.
Great.
So like some of us have taken Discovering Buddhism and some of us have taken Buddhism 101, maybe something in the middle, like that happy medium, because I feel like they're on deep ends of the spectrum.
Great. Thank you. Yep, it's coming.
I'm sure this first thought has to do with the people that happen to be in our group, but one of our ideas was thought transformation, Buddhist toolbox for dealing with everyday stresses and strains, and then the list starts with ex-hubby, red lights, kids. In other words, just have some practical techniques and some teaching on that.
Great, thank you very much. I saw a couple more hands that urgently want to add theirs, so 2 more comments and then we'll do the next step. Andre, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, with our group, we were thinking like more practically, like because we spend most of our time, of course, outside of the center. So it's like how to deal with things, like how to deal with things like going to work, like being a single mom. How to bring a Buddhist mind to family life and so forth. So we were thinking like if we had some programs like that. I know there were some wonderful books like what if the Buddha was married, or what if the Buddha had children and things like that. So these are very practical things, and so we thought maybe if there was some programs designed to help us deal with employees and with co-workers and so forth.
Great. All right. Thank you. And then Liz is our last comment.
Okay.
And I'll be getting all of your comments on the sheets. So everybody, don't worry if you didn't get yours heard. It will be heard.
Can Can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
okay. What we were talking about in our group was more of building a community, and Fred and Kirsten brought up a Buddhist parenting support group. I think more of the real world Buddhist applications we were talking about, so that Buddhist parents get support, because there's not a whole lot of Buddhists out there, you know, how to integrate that into their regular life. The other thing, I think, capitalizing on what Mr. Orange Shirt said, was, hi Dwight, what we called Buddhist etiquette. I think getting to know like how to fold a kata, which way, you know, to present it, more like the practical ritual aspects, and whether that's announcing it before we do like what we did today, or having like a laminated sheet that goes in the back of the chairs. That would be a thought. The other thing we liked is the more practical teachings, like the breakdown of Om Mani Padme Om, more just concrete things. But people also liked topics of anger and attachment. So we wanted more community building, and we also wanted possibly to move the food for thought to either a PM, an evening, or a weekend.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. These are fantastic ideas, and I'm really grateful for it, because it really does help me develop what is actually going to be of most use for you. The next thing, though, is that I would love to do everything, but we have an incredibly small paid staff. I'm only paid for 20 hours a week. I'm usually donating at least 10 extra hours on top of that. We're almost entirely volunteer-based. So a significant amount of what limits us is how much help do I have from the community to actually support each of these ideas. So just to give you a short overview of some of the current needs in the spiritual program department, we have needs for volunteers in silent meditation, assisting the leaders of that, assistance for the introductory courses, Meditation 101 and Buddhism in a Nutshell, an animal liberation coordinator. We're having the Relic Tour come in a month, and we're going to need a lot of volunteers to sign up for that. Filling and emptying the water bowls before and after classes, cleaning the altar, puja, shopping and setup, drivers for the geshis, and just general Sangha support. These are all areas that actually are in need at the moment. So whether or not we can serve you depends on if you're willing to be a part of that process. Every program that happens here takes an entire team of people to actually coordinate all of the logistics involved. So the next step in your groups is to think about if you would like to offer some time and energy and maybe expertise to help make some of these ideas happen. And if you would just add to your pad of paper your name and your contact information and email, phone number, and what it is you'd like to offer. I'd ask that anyone who would be willing to volunteer to add your name to your pad of paper, please. Yep, go ahead and do it now. I want volunteers. Write it down. Yeah, you can't go. And then in just a minute, we're going to dedicate together and then put the gamba back together and go. So. Sure. Yeah, so you tell me what you might be willing to or able to do. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. I have many ways. Many ways to use yours.
So these are going to stay out now instead of the old
Thank you, 246. You knew what I was looking for. So then if you would please get out your gold prayer books, and we're going to make a dedication together. Hey, this is Spiritual Burner. So we're going to turn to page 246 in your gold prayer books. And we're going to be dedicating the merit that we created today by welcoming Geshe Songpo and making mandala offerings and requesting him to teach. Incredible merit we've created. And then as well as being a part of this whole process of developing a Dharma community that serves all of the students who come here, rejoicing in that. And we'll be saying Shanti Deva's dedication to help generate the mind of bodhicitta. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you so much, everyone. We now have a potluck, so we hope that you will stay and take advantage of the time to socialize with each other and get to know each other as part of a community. So please stay even if you didn't bring a dish. Lama La will be going out in the lobby to bless the food if anyone would like to participate in that.